Hello and welcome to the first part of the any% latest patch tutorial. This tutorial will cover the first split, which is Vengeful Spirit, the first spell you get in this run and the only spell, and your main source of damage. It will also cover Ancestral Mount, which technically is part of the split after, but we don't care about that. That will be covered in the next video, or in the playlist. So, before we get started though, I highly recommend for practice purposes to install the debug mod. For how to install mods, I will link you to Fireborn's modding tutorial. It's a wonderful tutorial. It covers how to install the mod loader and how to install mods. And then for debug mod, how to set it up in-game, the different shortcuts, what they do. Very useful. Highly recommend to check out the video. And when you've installed that, I'll just boot up your game for a second, close it, and then I recommend to actually quickly check the Discord link I put below, which will link you to the HollowKnight speedrun Discord, to the resource channel, to a message by Equid, sharing their save state files, which, if you already watched Fireborn's video, you know what it's about. If you don't know what a save state is, it just helps you with practice so you don't have to, for example, if you want to practice something in late game, go through the entire game before that. So you can just load a save state there. And that file includes things like the individual levels for the individual splits, for example, different kind of tricks, 2 of those I will be going over in the first video, or bosses. But if you install those, I will quickly go over how to actually get those into your game, if that's the right term. For that you will just start by, of course, unzipping the file, if you haven't done that already, because that's always step 1 with zip files. Then just press Windows R, copy this into the window, press enter, it brings you to your HollowKnight folder, then just open the debug mod data and replace save state's current patch with the save state current patch from the zip file. That's already everything. Very simple. Now, before we actually start loading into the game, you see my game is not in English or French or whatever other language that you could read. This is in Chinese. The reason we are playing in Chinese is because skipping text is the fastest in Chinese. The text loads, the symbols load the fastest, and you can just smash through the text. And for changing language, you of course just go into your menu, which is one below from the save states, and then just click the first one. And Chinese is 2 to the left of English, so go to English and then just press left twice. Done. Now we can start loading into our game. So just make a save state somewhere. I just make it in the first file. And we always select the normal mode. Any% Susu is a different category technically, because any% is otherwise not really, or this route not possible with Susu, because there's one intended death. And right now you just see me mashing through the beginning cutscenes and everything. We don't need those. Voice over Klaburu here. Quick thing that I forgot at the very beginning. One thing that you want to do is quickly, sorry, that is unimportant, but if you play, I myself am playing on controller, if you're on keyboard, same thing. Your main casting thing should not be the focus cast button, but the quick cast. It will be important for later things. So just quickly change that as your main cast button, use that, important. Enjoy the video. Now, first thing when notice is we don't have edit control like on 1.2.1. We can't get that. We just have to wait and fall. And when we then gain control, we just start heading to the right, as always in King's Pass. King's Pass, pretty simple area. Just break the walls. You don't have to worry about knockback on this patch. Jump over the first crawlet, the hole and the second crawlet, and then do a first tiny bit of platforming. This should be simple enough. And then here will be the first tiny background object pogo. So if you watch the speedrun, you know what's coming. If not, we will pogo this background object to gain enough height to just jump onto the ledge there. Saves you a tiny bit of time. It's just a full hop and then a pogo. Next will be the first Vengeful pogo. You can just see me luring the Vengeful into position and then pogoing it. Simple enough. So, once again, we lower it over and pogo it. Depending on the position of the Vengeful, you sometimes have to jump down and go a bit further left, but the setup in itself is the same. Sometimes it's very far to the left, there I misjudged the spacing, and left and low, and you can just pogo it and land on there, because that saves a bit more time than just lowering it all the way to the right. There you saw me failed, I didn't jump high enough, so always jump high enough, and then we just pogo Vengeful called Jinky. Next, from there, as you saw before, we can just jump onto the upper platform, and here, now, there you see me jumping over the Vengeful and pogoing it, and before you saw me go below it. For that you kind of have to develop an eye, if you can, just jump below it and squeeze below the Vengeful and the platform, or if you have to jump over it and pogo it. And now there's not much to do after, it's just jump onto the next platform, or fail it as I did, just jump there. If you want a tiny bit of optimization is, as you see me slashing the wall, because if you slash the wall you gain a tiny bit of knockback, but it's not that important at the beginning. It doesn't really lose time, it doesn't save all too much time. Tiny thing here, don't just walk off there, you hard fall. Not the best thing, so what we don't want to do is, press that again, walk off and hard fall. There's a very slight off chance that you don't hard fall, but 90% of the time you will hard fall. Two different things you can do. When this, just before this breaks, you can up slash and then land on the upper platform. I myself don't know really how to make that consistent. Not the best with it. What I do, you will see now, is I will do a tiny jump just after I hear it break, and then just adjust my movement so I don't land on the lower platform. And after that, King's Horse, very simple, you just do a few slashes, done. Just slash the plank 3 times, and then we go to the big gate, do 13 slashes, you can go to the front of it, or there's the spot here where you don't gain any knockback. I just like to start my first slash, and then at this no knockback spot, and then do all the other slashes as up slashes on the gate for no knockback. Next we go all the way to the right of this ledge when we get here and jump for the distance. Here you see the first tiny difference of 1, 4, 3, 2 and actually latest patch, which is the latest version of course. What you just saw me do is cancel my hard fall stun, because on 1, 4, 3, 2 if you open your inventory and close it fast enough, your hard fall stun is negated. Not possible on latest patch, but possible then. Just not that good to show if you don't hard fall actually. Next, what you saw me is at this foreground object here, I just start jumping for apparently no reason. The reason we do this is because you get into a slower walk state there. So jumping is actually faster in this case, and we just jump through dirt moth, don't talk to Elderbug, and head into the well. Then just as soon as we land, break for hoping to see Menderbug later on, and then just jump and enter the next room. So there are 3 different ways, different ways to do this room, more than 3, but the simplest in my opinion is just jump down, pogo the object down below, done. Very simple. Another thing you could do is go down the middle way, which don't jump onto the platform, but just walk off there and hold left there, don't hard fall, just go into the transition immediately. Bad example, I'm sorry for that. Otherwise, now let's do it properly, do a tiny hop, don't walk onto that platform. That's a thing that can happen no matter where you drop, you can always get hit by a grosser. And now for the most difficult part, which there is something failed, is a so-called inventory drop. So what you would try is, when walking off the sledge, to open your inventory. On earlier patches you could just do it mid-air. Team Cherry fixed that. Kind of. Why do we want our inventory to be open? Because we actually have an uncapped force speed whilst in our inventory, because we should not be in an inventory in the air. Now, I failed it on this platform again, but tried it here and got it. So, quick explanation to why this works. if you hit the right physics frame, which is 1 of 50 frames, because HollowKnight itself runs in 50 frames, if you hit the right frame, the game still thinks you're on the platform, which means you can open your inventory. In itself though, you are not on the platform anymore, which means you start falling, and since your fall speed is uncapped, you will fall a bit faster than without. So let's do this one more time. And close it when you, of course, close it when you land. You see me fall a bit faster. If you get it from the top platform, you save maybe 2 seconds, I think. But at the beginning, not very important. Especially you can get hit out of it by a crosser anyway. Now we get to the first skip or real trick in your save states, which is the double S-Fit spike, which you just saw. And it requires a bit of practice at the beginning, but in itself it is not a very difficult trick, which is very nice. So you just start by killing this S-Fit with 3 nail slashes, and then we jump, turn around, slash the spike, and done. So how does it work? We just, once again, don't jump immediately. So there I tried to demonstrate how to do it when it's early. Did not work. If you're too early, you will see what happens if you're too early, because in itself you want to wait till the assets spawn in the background and then jump. If you do it too early, their hitboxes are not loaded in, you will miss. If you do it too late, they will not be aligned anymore and you will fail. So, as you see, just get hit by the spike, no. Do a few slashes there, and then wait until the assets load in. So, you see me waiting, I see both of them being loaded in, and then do the double spike. This rough demonstration of the movement, just hold a bit to the left, turn around, slash it, done. So once again, do a full jump there, and then turn around. Don't forget to turn around, because otherwise you will get hit by the spike. I try to leave, as you can see, with right around 10-11 geo. More is of course better, but you don't need more. This room, it's just a few simple jumps, which, okay, simple is maybe a bit of an over-exaggeration, you have to get used to it, but what you want to try to do here is just you jump, then jump at this piece of grass here, and do immediately another full hop, and then pogo the next golem, and you're done. You just have to dodge the Vengeful. Most of the time you will do that by, as you saw, pogoing the spikes below. What happens if you jump too early? You will land, slide off the top ledge, and have to do a few more slashes. It's a bit awkward in my opinion, and you're very likely to get hit in that time. One more time. I think this should be another proper demonstration. Just jump, and want to do full jumps. No, so just hold jump, done, and poke with the second golem. You should get above the third one. And then, like I said, you can just do a tiny jump, for example, above the spikes. You can also just walk down and pogo. I myself though like to do a tiny jump. Does not really hurt you. Sometimes the Vengeful is low and you can just jump over it and pogo it, or just jump over it in general. I think that I show that in a second. So what happens if you jump too late? You will most likely walk into the golem. Not good. Then do another few slashes, maybe get hit on the golem as well. But yeah. And once again, how to do it properly, you just jump over there, jump, full, pogo, and there you saw me jump over it. And the next room in itself, pretty self-explanatory. I will just save it here for a second to show the different things the Vengeful can spawn. There it spawns a bit back. I like to jump over it when it is far to the back. If it's not far to the back, you can most often just upslash it and walk below it, because an upslash affects the enemy as well, their height. And here you can, as you saw, just jump over the golems or do a tiny hop and pogo. Does not matter. And then once again, just jump, and this room, not much that can go wrong here, as you can see. And then just do another tiny hop over the, and you're done. Now we get to the next trick, which will be statue pogo. You will try to pogo a statue as an background object again, gain enough height, and clear a ledge, and then that's already basically the room. Here, just quickly demonstrating how save states work from preloaded pages. So now, we just load into the aspect arena, for example, blah blah, but we want to practice Statue Pogo, we press 1, and voila, we're here. It works everywhere. Now, how do we do Statue Pogo? We just, of course, face left, jump into the transition, immediately jump, turn around and jump, hold neutral for a bit whilst jumping there, and then pogo the statue at our apex of the jump. It is very important to hold neutral. If you don't hold neutral long enough, if you will be too far to the right, and you won't get it. Once again, we will just... It is very important, so if you don't get it, it can take a bit of getting used to. There I was just poked a bit too early, was not high enough, and if you don't want to do it, you can just... There, once again, but you don't necessarily have to do it at the beginning. I myself waited a year to learn Statue Pogo. What I did is just jump on the sledge, pogo the Vengeful, done. This room is... Statue Pogo saves a bit of time, not too much though. So don't worry if you don't get consistent with it. Then this room is also just hold left and don't get hit by the enemies. You can either just jump above them and up slash the Jennifer, also known as the Leaping Husk. I try to get a room set up where the enemies are a bit closer to each other, because sometimes they're too close for you to jump in between them and up slash. But there, for example, sometimes you have to pogo the Jennifer because they're kind of all three in each other. But sadly didn't get it in this demonstration, so you have to imagine it. You will see it though when you get there, but you can also just kill the enemies if you want to. Does not matter. Now, like I said earlier, I try to aim to be around 10ish or plus geo. If you think you are low on geo in this part already, just jump over the first husk and turn around and slash it. In itself, HollowKnight is not a fight you should have many issues with, in my opinion, because he's a big target. It takes 13 slashes for HollowKnight to stagger actually, and then we don't care about the fight. We will skip the fight later. So once again, just jump, get 13 slashes, and sometimes HollowKnight jumps above you, and sometimes, which will be shown later, he will jump back as well. But 13 slashes, HollowKnight staggers, and then if it jumps back, of course, follow HollowKnight. I just did a few more iterations of this just to show you it should not be a difficult fight for you. Here, HollowKnight jumps back a bit, sometimes he jumps back a bit further, but it does not really matter. So after this one, this should be the last iteration, so you see me just trigger the fight, jump, so quick info, jump far enough to the left. I think it triggers around this area, and if you don't jump too far to the left, obviously the fight will not trigger. Rather jump a bit further than too short. Duh. Here, a bit of further jump, and then stay close to it. You should not have too many issues. 8 slashes on this maggot will be enough. Then if you're on the right of it, just wait for it to jump over. Now, as you can see, after the 8th hammer smashdown, this wall becomes breakable. But only after the first cycle for some reason. So, what we do, we don't need the geo chest, we don't need the city crest. We just do 4 up slashes here, and we leave. We don't care about anything else. And this is, you're now basically on the finish line for the first split. You just do a few more jumps. Here we now come to torch game. You can just hit the right frame between these two objects and not break any of them. It's just a tiny fun thing you always can do in a run. It does not matter for anything. And now you see why we play in Chinese. You can mash through this way faster than English. Just do a side-by-side comparison with yourself. But yeah, as soon as you gain control, we jump into the Vengeful Spirit, and this is the first split. As soon as the save icon pops up, the auto splitter will split. Wonderful. And now I will quickly go over in this video since we are in mount, things in mount. So after waking up and gaining control again, we do a tiny jump to just up slash to break the first plank, and then in this, as you see, around the area of this totem thingy, I try to side slash to break a few of the planks. I aim to hope to break 3 of them, not 2, and just break the other of all of them with an up slash. Why do I do it this way? I don't want to gain the knockback. Gaining knockback is bad. Then just break this plank, and here. The position of this tick is dependent on how fast you did everything else in here. I was a bit slow here, and depending on where it is, you actively like. If it's anywhere like on the left or bottom, you don't care, you can just jump up. If it's on the top side of the platform, wait a bit for it to make enough space for you to land on, and you're good and can continue. If it's on the left side of this, what I like to do is when I jump onto this platform, do an up slash to quickly stun it, because many enemies are stunned for a second when you hit them, and the time you stun it, you can get onto the platform, jump again, pogo it, the tick will sadly unalive, and then you can just jump onto the platform. Or if you don't get that to work, you can just wait for it to be in a space where it does not bother you. There I didn't have to wait long, we just jump. Here we will try to break the 2 planks at the same time as you just saw. You try to slash, down slash, as late as possible to break both planks. If you don't break both at the same time, it's not that bad. You will get the timing down. At the beginning you might not do it. Does not care, does not really lose that much time. We continue on and jump over that boulder. What we can't do is jump over this boulder, as you probably already know from when you first played the game. What do? We walk towards it, and we don't hold necessarily left, we hold left and up. Why do we do it? Because we up slash the boulder. Why do we up slash it? Like mentioned before, with an up slash we affect the position of our enemy as well, and we can just walk below it. Now for this area, sorry for all the pausing, but when we jump onto this platform, we try to up slash this Vengeful as well for tiny bits of optimization. You don't have to do it, but you can. Sometimes it's a bit far to the right, where I don't recommend it because then you will get hit afterwards, but here you will see you just up slash it and then jump and pogo to get to the upper platform. You need that pogo to reach the platform, and it just is up slash a jump and then we're done. Now we get to a part that I don't like in this run. Many runners don't like RNG. So, first off we jump down and break the plank. Now, the enemy of all speedrunners is RNG. Not the main enemy, to that main enemy I will come later at the end of the video. The thing about bars is, elder bars is, they take 4 vengeful spirits to die. If you get too close, they will close their shell, you can't slash them. You need Vengeful Spirit for that. We only have 3 casts, which means we are dependent on how fast it spits out one of the tiny boulders. There's a 50% chance you get a boulder spit and a 50% chance you get an acid spit. Believe me when I say it does not feel like a 50-50. More than often enough you will sit there and think to yourself, please stop giving me acid spits. This is the 6th one, I want the boulder. I think the record is 19, I'm not entirely sure. Do the math yourself, 2 to the power of 19 is not a low number, it's very unlikely. But that can happen. Well, I think my record is 11. But sometimes you get lucky and get a first spit, sometimes you don't, just pray. RNG is annoying. So what I try to do now when being here, first you will fire 2 fireballs. We don't do a 3rd one because you can squeeze in the 2nd one when it looks up. The 3rd one itself will trigger that animation again, which loses you a bit of time. I will try now to send in this tiny notch here because in my opinion it's a good distance, it will not close the boulder and give you enough reaction time. but you will also get a feeling to how the boulder acts and when the split comes. So we just wait. There we got a first split, very nice. And we just fire twice again after we kill the tiny boulder and we're done. Then we talk to the shaman and we're done with mount. And this is the last part of the video. There's nothing, we don't need to bench here. If you took a lot of damage, for example, you can bench, but you don't need to. And next you would start heading to Green Path, which will be covered in the next video. Now, first of all, thank you very much for watching. I hope that this tutorial so far helped you. And one more thing I want to say to you is, when you eventually start doing runs, don't get into the habit of resetting. Don't develop a bad reset mentality like I did at the beginning. At the beginning, your runs will not be the best, but don't, for example, reset just because you lost 10 seconds or so on VS. Because, one, you lose out on general run practice with that, which is not good because a run itself feels different to normal practice. And two, the more you reset, the more angry you will get, or at least that's how I get, because I just get unsatisfied. I get more and more picky with the runs I actually let continue, which is just not good when you're starting to speedrun. It's not good for your for the speedrun mentality if you just start resetting for tiny things. A death at the beginning, of course, is one thing, because death can lose a lot of time, depending on which death we're talking about. For example, if you die to a boss later on, don't reset that happens at the beginning. Except for Hornet, because Hornet loses you a lot of time. But please, what you do, don't reset when you start out for over tiny mistakes. But anyways, like I said, thank you so much for watching this first part of the tutorial. I hope it helped. Just hope that you watch also the other ones, that if you actually want to start continuing with the practicing speedruns. But this will be it for this video. Thank you so much and have a nice rest of your day.